So, all right, here we are. It's Chaf Menachem Av. It's the yahrzeit of the Rebbe's father, Reb Levi Yitzchak. I just want to say a few words about him before we continue our studies of transforming darkness into light. So Reb Levi Yitzchak and his wife, Rebbe Tzimchana, they had a very hard life living in Russia under communism. They were persecuted. He was arrested and tortured and sent into exile in a little village in Soviet Central Asia, where it was just it had one room in a house of anti-Semites, and just getting water was a huge walk, and it was extremely painful. There was no food. The famous story of Rebbe Tzimchana making ink for her husband to write in the boundaries of books, to write a few notes. And finally, they were able to move to Alma-Ata in Soviet Central Asia, and that was a huge improvement because there was a Jewish community there that looked after them, and he passed away there in 1944. So they had very, very hard lives. The Rebbe would bring on his father's yahrzeit, would bring the equipment of tomorrow night as Chaf Menachem Av at the ending. And there was a story I once heard from Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson about once the whole camp Gan Yisrael came after a busy day, came to the Rebbe's Fabringen when Rabbi Jacobson was a counselor. And there was a very simple board that the Rebbe gave over in his father's name that I would just like to share with you. That in the Mishnah Mikdash, this last Mishnah speaks about different objects in a mikveh, and there's like 3 different levels. There's like if you have to, in those days, like if there was a metal table that was in a tent where someone passed away, it would have to be toiveled in a mikveh, and if it was too tall for the mikveh, you could allowed to push like the legs into the mud and gravel on the bottom, as long as they went through the water in order to be covered. So that it's talking about like the souls in the world to come. So that's a kind of a tough one thing, but the person winds up being purified. And then the next level is the person themselves is being toiveled, but the water isn't deep enough, so they pull reeds down into the water to the water level goes up. So it just takes some effort, not quite as bad as the gravel and the mud, and the soul is purified. And then the nicest and most pleasant one, which is how it ends, and right after that the person says Kaddish, is that someone has a needle, a metal needle that needs to be purified. It's just put on the step of the mikveh. The mikveh was in a cave, on the step, and then with hand you just push a little water over the needle, not to lose the needle in the water, and that's the most pleasant, the next world, no gravel, no having to push reeds down, just a little push over with one's hand, a little water goes over. And the Rebbe said in his father's name about the needle, that a needle has a sharp end and an end with a hole in it, and the hole represents bittul, represents nullifying ourselves before Hashem, feeling Hashem's presence, and to unite heaven and earth in order to do our shlichus. So if anyone has a l'chaim handy, l'chaim, Rav Levi Yitzchak should have an aliyah neshama and have nachas from all of us. L'chaim. Okay, so back to our studies of turning darkness into light. So I'm just going to do a little review. We're in the middle of the Baal Shem Tov's 3 stages. We've spoken about Hachna'ah, Havdalah, Hamtzakar. We're in the middle now. We're almost finished with Havdalah, the middle separation. So all of the 3 have the 3 levels, and then there's 9 levels all together. We've spot the Hachna'ah part. There's no way to that step, and it's something that we have to practice. It's a lifetime to know what we're thinking, to catch our thoughts. But we're learning this. This is both a guide to mental health and a guide to spiritual refinement and spiritual growth and getting close to Hashem. So we have to be able to, the negative thoughts, and we don't have to follow them. And Rabbi Yitzchak says, it quotes the Tanya, the end of chapter 28. And what if we're obsessed, and what if the negative thought is driving us crazy? Then we have to beseech Hashem to help us, and do it for His sake, because we do have the piece of Hashem's essence within us. We have that divine soul, the piece of Hashem's essence, and to daven Hashem, He should save us for His sake. So that's the first stage, dismissing negative thoughts, that's submission within separation. We also did the second stage, separation within separation, which is self-redefinition. Now, self-redefinition means, as we've spoken about, moving our identity to the divine soul, to the Nefesh Elokis, to the piece of Hashem that's within us, and we need to move our identification there. We should identify with the divine soul. So that's also, it takes time, and this is also, this requires meditation. It requires meditation to move our identity over, to we should be absorbed in the reality of Hashem. We should link our souls with Hashem. We should link our divine soul, meditate on divinity. So, and let's see, what else should we say on this? So, and to lower the ego, we spoke about that, and to increase, and the benefit of lowering our ego is that we feel Hashem's Rahmanas, Hashem's compassion, filling that place. So our ego wants to fill our entire consciousness. It will distract us. It has many different concerns it wants us to think about. And as we lower it, our problems also get lowered. And the big perk is that Hashem's Rachamim fills that space where our ego was. So that's a good deal. Okay. So let's see, and giving Hashem credit for the good that we do. We spoke about that last week also, so that's the major way of ruling out, of healing ourselves from eskumpmir, it's coming to me, magili, entitlement, is giving Hashem credit for the good that we do. Hashem gave us the energy to do it, Hashem gave us the situation, and on a more subtle level, Hashem also gives us the motivation to do it. So we give Hashem credit for the good. Credit belongs to Hashem. And of course, and the idea, the winning idea for one's mental health, it's not about me, it's about myself. Crazy. Anything can drive me crazy. I could see, we had some birthday balloons for a friend in our house, and the sight of those birthday balloons, I started reliving unhappy childhood memories of birthdays. And that's not, I'm glad I'm laughing at myself, otherwise it would seem very, very sad. I don't know if it ever happened to any of you. So we drive ourselves crazy, and so sometimes we have to look at these situations. We have to look at the thoughts that bring on the madness. It's not about me, it's about my shlichus. For me, is always very healing. So it doesn't matter, these experiences, we don't have to dwell on all of those experiences that distract us, because it's not about us, it's about our shlichus. Okay, and what we got up to last time, we started the third stage of separation, sweetening within separation. So we spoke about, now it's positive thinking. We have to actively replace the negative thoughts with positive ones. Think good and it will be good. Trach good and vetzayin good. The Tzemach Tzedek, the third Lubavitch Rebbe, tells us. And it's also thinking that Hashem is good, which is really what emunah is. And we need to really be aware of where is our emunah holding. We need to be honest with ourselves. Does my emunah need some repair? I remember learning when I first became frum 46 years ago from Rabbi Mengel that Cholav Yisrael is good for emunah, and it made a very big impression on me. And I was only frum a couple of months. I hadn't decided if I was holding by Cholav Yisrael or not. But the fact that it was connected with emunah, it seemed like it was the direction to go. Strengthen emunah. And again, emunah is how much do we believe Hashem is good, even though sometimes we don't see it and we don't understand. And And we're just talking about our own lives. For other people, we should daven, this is such a good person, Hashem, take away their suffering. Okay, so actively ignoring our anxieties and replacing our negative thoughts with positive ones. Because here's a great sentence: left to its own devices, the mind will tend to fill itself with negative thoughts that spring from its unrectified subconscious. That's, by the way, page 51 for anyone following in the book. See, it's normal. We all have this unrectified self-conscious. We shouldn't feel we're special having one. And it throws up negative thoughts constantly. And it's our choice. Should we follow? Our mind is a vessel. That's what it tells the story right on the bottom of that page, the story of Yosef and that pit that was empty of water, but it was filled with snakes and scorpions. And our mind is a vessel. We have to decide, what are we going to put? Do we want the snakes and scorpions to be what's in our mind? Or do we want positive thoughts, thoughts of Torah? Our mind, we think of our mind as a vessel, and what is it that we want to fill this vessel with? So let's see. So the idea is we need to often reorient our perspective. We have to reorient our perspective. It can help to have a teacher, a mentor, a Rebbe that can help us. We need to reorient our perspective on reality, and someone who can help us access our inner power to think positively. In other words, we have this ability, but we have to be able to access our ability to think positively. It's good to have inspiring friends. When you see someone else can do it, yes, I want to do it too. Okay, and then the last paragraph that we did last time on page 52, I'm just going to read that. So besides safeguarding us from negativity, positive thinking about the specific problem troubling us can actually influence the course of events for the better. So this is a very important idea. I'll just repeat that. Positive thinking can actually influence the course of events for the better. So we're not just saying that it's good for our mental health and it's good for our spiritual growth. We're saying it affects reality. Our positive thoughts will affect reality. And the footnote there, footnote 20 for anyone looking, is a Sikha from the Rebbe, Sikha in Likutei Sikhas, volume 36, the first Sikha, where the Rebbe speaks about how positive thinking influences reality and gives examples. And it's something that we really all, so it's like to motivate us further in positive thinking. And so the power of positive thinking to bring out good and negative thinking to bring about evil is well known. It's the essence of cognitive psychotherapy. So we have to take responsibility for our thoughts. We have to totally take responsibility, and we want to influence reality quite well. So that's as far as we got last time. Now we're up to, that was the review, and now we're up to fresh material. Okay, now here's some good ideas. We may choose whether we react optimistically or pessimistically to any given situation. And this is what it means. So the objective facts are the same, but the way we respond to them is our choice. Our reaction, how we respond is our choice. The circumstances are beyond our control. That's Hashgacha Pratis, that's from Hashem. But how we react to them is our choice. And this is the power of positive thinking. And then this quote, this famous quote from Devorim, Hashem says through Moshe, I call upon heaven and earth to witness before you this day, life and death I have placed before you, blessing and curse. Therefore choose life, which means be optimistic. What does it mean practically to choose life? That we can choose to be. If we choose to be pessimistic, we're choosing death. It like brings all this negative energy into our reality. Or to choose to be optimistic and to know that it's our choice. To know that this is our choice. It's not something that we're doomed to. It's not like, well, I've always been pessimistic and miserable, so it's my duty to continue. Because again, we spoke about how our true identity is a piece of Hashem's essence. And we have to practice. We have to practice working towards those choosing life. I always listen to everyone like that line where it says, choose life. Yeah, so what it means practically on a psychological level is choose to be optimistic. We should certainly utilize this potent tool to improve the quality of our life in general and our mental well-being in particular. So, and Rav Yitzchak gives, in his Sefer Lev Ladas, he speaks about this in great length. So there's another reference to look further. But being optimistic is part of our mental health. It's part, it's something we all have to work on. We owe it to the world. I know the family members come home. It's much more cheerful to come home to that optimistic person, right? It's like so hopeful. Yes. Okay. So to the top of page 53. Here again, the power of optimism to positively influence the course of events. Again, so positively influence, we have the ability to positively influence the course of events, and it's enhanced by contemplating ideas from the Torah. Contemplating ideas from the Torah. So now we're bringing the Torah into it. We want to look at ideas we want to contemplate ideas from the Torah. So now it's about the idea. So we have a problem. We have a problem and we're not sure how to solve this problem. So we're going to divert our mind from the problem and immerse our mind in the study of Torah. So how is this different from escapism? How come this isn't escapism? Because it seems we're postponing, our problem is still unsolved, we're postponing dealing with it. But what's effective here is the fact that Torah connects us with Hashem, and the essential goodness of the Torah endows our positive thinking with more power. In other words, it gives us clarity. Learning Torah gives us clarity, not just that we're thinking better because we're using our minds to think, but it gives us clarity in dealing with situations. Learning Torah gives us this clarity, and then we'll have the clarity to solve the problem. It's a great bracha to give people. Give people, if it's your birthday and you want to give people a bracha, or any time, a bracha for clarity in dealing with our problems. Yes, so the Torah, being Hashem's wisdom, is also the source of the solution to all problems. And by studying it, we can access the solution it offers. So when we're learning Torah, to have in mind, in this Torah is the solution to all problems. And the Baal Shem Tov teaches that whoever studies the Torah for its own sake will be privileged to always see its relevance to his or her personal life. So to learn Torah Lishma, it's like we can see the Hashgacha Pratis. Why am I learning this now? This is something that I really want to hear. This is something that I need to hear. This is the answer to my problems. The Baal Shem Tov teaches this. To access the solution to our problems through learning Torah. And okay, so and to integrate this, we have to recognize our soul root. We have, again, this identifying with our divine soul. Because even if someone's born into a wonderful frum family with lots of yichus, we still always all identify with the animal soul first. It always takes effort to identify with the divine soul. We have to practice. It's like interview it. Again, what do you think about what I should do right now? It's good to hear what it has to say. Okay, so it gives us inspiration and to fill our lives with Torah. So by studying the Torah, which is God's self-revelation in this world. I really like this concept. Torah is God's self-revelation. Hashem is revealing himself through the Torah. This is such a look at Torah. Sometimes, there's always everyone in their own level. We all have our struggles with chitas. And, I can see when I'm in a bad mood, it seems like homework, like I have to do my homework, and I hope my homework is short. Now, that's not really great. That's not really the great attitude. The greater attitude is the Torah and Hashem are one. This is one with it. This we're learning Torah. This is Hashem. It's not even the Torah is from Hashem. The Torah is Hashem. This is how we access. Yes, and filling our consciousness with Torah allows us to subsequently face our problems with optimism, confidence, and insight to know how to deal with it, the clarity. So optimism is very important. And we see when we're with people that are optimistic, it does rub off. It is inspiring to look. Everyone has problems. We could drive ourselves crazy with our problems. We can make ourselves depressed with our problems. We can do, if we had a 2-minute assignment, please depress yourself. Like we can define ourselves as a poor never person. Everyone has, I'm laughing and crying at the same time. People should think that I'm just laughing. I can feel the tears, just like Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon, he had Chedva on one side and was crying. On the other side, when his father, Rabbi Shimon, spoke with him about the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, he was crying because he understood what it meant that the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, and he was joyful because his father was sharing with him the deepest secrets of Torah. And this is the paradox of Jewish life. It's like we're laughing and crying at the same time. So optimism. So it's so important that we should realize that cultivating optimism is a mitzvah. And it helps people. It's nice to be with, right, it can rub off. Confidence, this is betachan in Hashem, that Hashem is covering our back. Hashem wants us to succeed. Hashem wants us to go before him. And insight to know how to deal with our problems. And then the story is told here, the famous story about Rabbi Akiva, who was traveling with his donkey and his rooster and his candle, because in those days you couldn't go anywhere without your donkey, your rooster, and your candle. And he came to this town. It's a famous story, everyone knows it, and they wouldn't let him in. No one gave him a place to lodge. And and this is also for the good. Rabbi Akiva felt whatever Hashem does is for the good. And we know the story. So we just had to go on a little camping trip outside the town, and the wind blew out the candle, and some creature, a weasel killed the rooster, and a lion ate the donkey. And each time he said, whatever Hashem does is for the good. And the next morning he found out that the Roman legions had come to the town and took everyone off as slaves. And if he had had a candle, a rooster, or a donkey, they would have found him. So he understood Gamzu L'Tova, that what Hashem does is for the good. And we don't always see it. Sometimes we do see it. Sometimes things look tough, and we see that it really was a bracha, and this was what brought us to where we are. This challenge was the challenge that we needed to deal with. So this little story is in Brachas, Brachas 60b. You can read all about it. So, okay, so this ends the second part of our Hachna again with submission. This was Havdalah. I'm just going to quickly review the 3 parts of separation. So separating from our anxiety, separating from our animal soul. It's using it in order to get objectivity. So the 3 steps are: the submission within separation is dismissing negative thoughts and realizing that we need Hashem. We need Hashem to help us. We need Hashem to save us from those obsessions, and that we need Hashem. I learned in Torah Sanefesh, the definition of the tzaddik amor, the complete tzaddik, is someone who realizes that we need Hashem every moment. We're totally needy all the time. We need Hashem to recreate us. We need Hashem to keep us well. We need Hashem to be able to walk across the room. We're needy. It's very interesting because it's so different from the idea of Western psychology. You shouldn't be needy. And now we're saying the tzaddik Kamor is totally needy. And the total Russia is, I don't need God. I don't need anybody. Someplace on the autistic spectrum. It's a big spectrum. We might from time to time locate ourselves on it, but it's that attitude. So needing Hashem, and that's Hachna'ah, that's submission. I need Hashem. It's very humbling for the ego. I thought I could do it all by myself. And then the separation within separation is moving our identity to our divine soul through meditative prayer. It takes meditation, it takes davening. to do it. And then the sweetening within separation is thinking positive thoughts, active optimism. It takes effort. It's a mitzvah. It will make the people around us happier too. It's quite contagious. We have to cultivate optimism. We have to catch ourselves. If we get depressed, we have to see what are the thoughts? What are the thoughts that go with this? Can I remove those thoughts and put more positive thoughts? Learn a little Torah, call your chavrusa, start learning something deep and uplifting and inspiring. Okay, so now we're moving on to sweetening at last, the best part, sweetening, and it has 3 steps. So again, since there's 3 stages, when all 3 are incorporated, 3 times 3 is 9, we're going to be learning the last 3 steps, the 3 steps of sweetening. And here, a counselor, a mentor, a close friend, a therapist, here's where it comes into play. So the stages that we have, objectivity, to honestly look at our problems. If we're identifying with them, it's very hard to be honest with them. We'll tend to defend them. But if we can step outside and identify with our divine soul, it gives us a certain objectivity. And here we can speak to Hashem. We can start by putting it into words. What is it? What do we want to? How do we want to grow? How do we want to rectify? What do we need to see about ourselves in order to know how to deal with them? So articulating our anxieties to another person, this is the good word advice from a good friend who's aware, can give us objective, sound advice. You know, the Rebbe spoke about in it was like either I think it was 1986, the Rebbe spoke about how everyone should have a mentor. That's when he first brought it up, and there's like 3 weeks between Chaf Dal and Tevis, which is the yard site of the Alter Rebbe, to Yud Shvat, the yard site of the Frierdiker Rebbe. And that year, the Rebbe wanted in those 3 weeks, everyone should have a mentor and work with their mentor each week and decide what we're going to be working on that week. And the Rebbe wanted everyone to write in, what are they working on with their mentor that week? I mean, it was something so intense that it really seemed to me that it was going to be, Mashiach was going to come on Yud Shvat. That's often people get that feeling, Mashiach is going to come on Yud Shvat. We'll take him anytime, but this having a mentor, having someone we can talk to, someone we can work with. And also it says in Pirkei Avos buyers to put energy into friendship, to have a good friend we can turn to and talk to and get objective guidance from. Okay, so now that was the introduction, and now we're up to the Hachna'ah within sweetening. So this is on page 56 for those who are studying along with the book. Highly recommended. Okay, so first of all, simply articulating the problem to someone else sweetens it to a certain degree. It's healthy to speak to our friends about our problems. It's already, like I was able to put it into words. It's such a relief instead of it like looming in the dark caverns of my mind. Instead, I'm talking to a friend about it. I'm talking to a friend. I was able to articulate my problem. This is the beginning of sweetening. I have a problem, I could articulate it. And by airing it, it can also help resolve it. And we could find, and sometimes just articulating it gives us a foretaste of the anticipated remedy. Just putting the word, just by articulating our problems, expressing them. It says articulation also helps us focus and define our problems. This is a major step toward their resolution. For knowing the malaise is half the cure. And it takes a certain amount of courage, even if it's like our best friend. It takes a certain, we all have those dark caverns in our mind, to be able to articulate them. it takes that effort, but this helps us focus and this helps us know. I mean, we've often spoken about the Hasidic Heshbon HaNefesh, where one side is what I'm thankful for, and the other side is how I want to grow. But to know really how I want to grow, it's very helpful to be aware of, be able to articulate what are those dark caverns of my mind to my best friend, to a mentor, to a spiritual guide, to a therapist, the right person, somebody who can give us that objectivity to express our problems. And it's furthermore, the experience of talking teaches us that even subliminally, that we're not alone in life, but we're enveloped by Hashem's presence and rachamim. So we keep it coming, it comes back to this idea of Hashem's rachamim, filling the space of where our ego was taking up room. Again, this benefit. What do we gain by lowering the ego? First of all, it's much safer because there's not those big falls that are so unpleasant and painful. But if we keep the ego in a nice low place, you can see the safety net there. It can't fall too far. And we did learn in Torah when it starts to fall, don't grab on with our nails. We shouldn't grab onto the mountainside. Let the ego fall. It's worth it. That space will be filled with Hashem's rachamim, much more pleasant. Life has become more pleasant. So what we need to become more aware of is Hashem's rachamim, and that means Hashem's presence. Life becomes meaningful when we feel we're in Hashem's presence, when Hashem's presence is in our life. Certainly when we're davening, right? That's a good time, for example, to be aware of Hashem's presence, because it is an effort standing up there and doing it to bring in Hashem's presence. Also, it's hard to believe, but this Shabbos is Shabbos Mevorchim Elul, and we know Elul is when the king is in the field, and not only is the king in the field, but the king is in the field and he's looking at us with a smiling face. He wants us to come and to talk to him and to be with him before he goes back to his palace on Rosh Hashanah. And then the Alter Rebbe says, when he in Parshas Re'eh, where the Alter Rebbe has the famous Maimar, Anila Dodi V'Dodi Li, Rashi Tevis Elul, where he speaks about this is the idea of the king being in the field and looking at us, all of us people that are in the field. He's looking at us with a smiling face, and he wants to hear about how life is going. And the fact that and it's so much easier to ask for forgiveness. Remember we spoke about the idea that and this is what we learned here in this very sefer that we're learning, that the prayer that's answered immediately is the prayer, I want to do tshuva, I want to come close to you. Hashem accepts our tshuva immediately, even if we've done tshuva and fell 1,000,000 times, the 1,000,001st time again, he'll accept our tshuva. That is the prayer. Would you like a prayer that's answered immediately? Yes, it's so meaningful. Yes, that's the prayer. Do tshuva. And this is the season of tshuva coming our way. So we have to really cultivate this. And we spoke about how the Maharal of Prague said, that's tshuva, just those words. I want to do tshuva. I want to get close to you. This is tshuva. I want to do tshuva. I want to get close to you. And this is a season. So this is something that's very relevant now. Anila Dodi V'Dodi Li, that we can have. This is a time to cultivate this intimate relationship with Hashem. Okay, so our prayer of tshuva is accepted immediately. But we also want to often daven for a change of circumstances. There might be circumstances in our life that we feel we'd like them to be a little different. So there, we certainly can daven for it, but that might not be answered immediately, because it could be that the lesson we need we haven't quite learned yet the lesson we need from these circumstances. And the lessons are often the humbling of the ego, the lowering of shiftless. The lowering of the ego is often, our circumstances can often help us do that. So we won't always, the prayer to change the circumstances won't always be answered immediately, but the prayer to do tshuva will. So we have a lot of chance to practice that with Elul coming on. So the top of page 57, the human urge to articulate is connected to an expression of our faith in Hashem's unconditional willingness to hear us. Hashem is willing to hear us. We have to get the conversation going. This is articulating to Hashem. We can start with Hashem, practice with Hashem, also have a good friend to speak to, but Hashem is willing to hear us. The awareness of Hashem's rachamim provides further solace and comfort to the ailing soul, for it allows us to remain close and connected to Him despite our shortcomings. There's another very useful idea, that we can remain close and connected to Hashem, even if we have shortcomings. We might think He's just sick of us. How long are we going to have these shortcomings? Isn't He bored with my shortcomings? Maybe He's not interested. No. There's a guarantee that we can remain close and connected to Hashem despite our shortcomings. Important ideas, because when we're davening, we really want to cultivate this closeness and connection with Hashem, and we're entering a big davening season, what with this Shabbos being Shabbos Mevorchim Elul. Okay. So the counselor can assist us the counselor can assist us in all the previous stages of therapy. So what are the previous stages? He can help us meditate on the absolute reality of Hashem. So this was how we began. This was the hachna'ah of hachna'ah. How do we start lowering the ego? What's the very first step towards our mental health? Is meditating on Hashem's greatness. Even if it's just a very quick 3-sentence meditation, because we're often very distracted. Our obsessions distract us, our traumas distract us. We get distracted, so we have to start with brief meditation. We can think about Hashem is recreating us each moment, that Hashem fills reality, that Hashem surrounds reality. That's already, that might even be 4 seconds. In other words, so this is the very first step. The right counselor can help us meditate on the absolute reality of Hashem, and to feel Hashem's presence and to feel Hashem's rachmanis. So it's good to have somebody that can help us feel Hashem's presence and feel Hashem's rachmanis. And we have to remind ourselves about it. Because when I speak now about Hashem's presence, I already feel much better. Because here we are in Hashem's presence. Wow, and we're having this lovely fabring, and I'm very happy for all the people that have their cameras on. So I feel we're bringing together. It's a big mitzvah that I see you all out there. Yes, hi to all the people out there. Oh, look, they're waving back. It's real life. Great, love you. Okay, we have a few more minutes. Let's continue. So the counselor, our friend, our counselor, our mentor can help us evaluate our lives, coach us in ignoring our anxieties or separating from our anxieties, or be able to step outside and look at we are not our anxieties. We can separate from them and look at them objectively. Our counselor can help us with, our friend can help us with that. Positive thinking. When we first hear about positive thinking, we can think, oh, that's not for me. I've always been a miserable, depressed person, and I want to be loyal to my identity. No, it's something, yes. So the counselor's reassurance, the deep difficulties we have uncovered with Hashem. So it's good to have a good friend to remind us that we listen, it's going through life. There isn't any eyes, and our traumas tend to distract the balloons. I immediately, when I'm laughing and weeping about myself. But, it's like we all have these kinds of things. It's like anything can trigger, and it's very distracting in our meditation. So it takes effort to realize, this is a thought I don't necessarily need to follow. I can replace this thought. And if I'm having trouble, to beseech Hashem to help us. But the difficulties we have uncovered are not a threat to our relationship with Hashem. This is the end of, this is really as far as we'll get today, this last paragraph on submission within sweetening, the need for another. By articulating our anxieties, we demonstrate that we are dependent on other people or Hashem to help us deal with them. This phase of therapy is thus a humbling experience, one of hachna'ah. So again, this hachna'ah that we spoke about, the tzaddik amor, it feels totally needy. It's a step, feeling totally needy, good thing. It's realistic, we're totally needy. It's humbling, it helps humble the ego. And again, the big perk of that is feeling Hashem's rachamim. So we need Hashem, we need other people. We're not going to be that Russia Gemur, I don't need God, I don't need anybody. Chas v'shalom. We're not going to fall into that trap. And the opposite is, yes, we do. We need a friend. We need Hashem. We need Hashem to keep on recreating us.